Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! It's an exciting time to be a resident of Wonderland because the Kingdom Cup games will be happening this summer and we're all invited to Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland's intriguing plot. I'm really excited about how the plot will unfold, the new characters that will see their introduction into Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, and I for one love the title, Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, because it makes for an unpredictable time to become a Descendants fan if you weren't already. And if you've been a fan of the franchise from the very beginning, such as I have and many people who have subscribed to this YouTube channel, I think that you would agree with me in saying that this is the most interesting plot that I think I've ever seen, the most intriguing plot ever for a Descendants movie that dates all the way back to July 31st, 2015. I remember the night the first Descendants movie premiered, how many people were intrigued by the plot to be introduced to Dove Cameron's new character Mal. This was the first time ever that Dove Cameron had donned the role of a character so unpredictable as what Mal was, because she was just trying to find her place in Auradon, and she eventually did by falling in love with the Beast's son Ben, which was a time being a Descendants fan that I will never ever forget, because one of the greatest honors of my life was having the honor to meet each and every one of you through the passion we shared, Descendants and Zombies, and eventually came Zombies in 2018 with this powerful script of how Addison was trying to find her place in the world, from being a zombie to eventually a werewolf to eventually an alien by Zombies 3, and then by Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires came one of the most powerful scripts of all time. So you follow the pattern of Disney movies being released for Descendants and Zombies over the years, and this makes for a very intriguing plot by summer 2026. I will be here in summer 2026 to cover every single moment of significance leading up to the premiere of Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, along with key moments in history from Descendants and Zombies every night on this YouTube channel, at least one video every night throughout the summer of 2026 leading up to the premiere of Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, because come to think of it, this time next year we could be counting down the literally seconds to the premiere of Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, and if the premiere of Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires was any indication with how everybody tuned in, making it the #1 movie on Disney Plus this past summer, Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland makes waves for an incredible time to be a fan of Descendants and Zombies. I have never seen so many fans be intrigued by a plot of a franchise or feel so inspired by characters from the gowns they wore on the nights of the premiere. I will never forget the premiere of Descendants 2, when those beautiful gowns were donned by Dove Cameron and Sophia Carson, that really set a trend for the future of Descendants, because I think everybody was paying attention to the gowns for future premieres following the premiere of Descendants 2 many years ago. And that was all the way back in 2017. And I will never forget the premiere of Descendants 3 and how emotional that was. So when Descendants came back after a 5-year hiatus, I know there was a lot of criticism directed towards the new cast, but I really do believe that the new cast did a fabulous job really bringing this one to life. Because if not for this new cast, I don't think we would have ever seen as many characters see their introduction into the Descendants franchise, which is why, now many years later, I'm hoping for introductions of characters like Aladdin and Jasmine, Hercules and Meg into the franchise, with a greater appreciation for these characters that sometimes have been overshadowed by everything else happening in the Descendants franchise. I think that making the Alice in Wonderland characters the focal point of Descendants was a great move for Disney, because I think in recent years, I think that everybody has tended to forgot about how significant Alice in Wonderland characters were and just how legendary they were to Disney, because this was one of Disney's first major movies that really exploded. Of course, the traditional movie that blew up for Disney was Snow White many years ago, after Disney had seen a silent adaptation of the movie and he turned it around into his own version, and then came Alice in Wonderland many years later, and then so many to follow suit like Beauty and the Beast and Sleeping Beauty by 1958. So I think that with Alice in Wonderland characters now finding their way into the Descendants franchise, it gives us a greater appreciation for how much these characters have meant to our lives, and with how many Alice in Wonderland characters from the Cherokee Cat all the way to the Mad Hatter having yet to see their introduction into the Descendants franchise, I for one am really excited about it. Where's Alice? How come Alice is not a part of this? I really do love Alice for her curiosity and just how unpredictable she was on time. So she ran down through that rabbit hole, and maybe I'm just saying this because I was a big fan of the Disney live-action Alice in Wonderland in 2010 with Johnny Depp playing the Mad Hatter, or being a huge fan of reading the original story, Alice in Wonderland. There were a total of 4 books in that series, which is a surefire indication that there's still so much more of a story yet to be told to the fans of Descendants, The Rise of Red, because I really do believe that you just can't tell a story in just under 90 minutes and complete it. I will forever stand to that. There is no way that you can just tell a story in 90 minutes and complete it. And we've seen it so many times over the years with Disney. I mean, we would have thought that Aladdin would have been the only movie of the series, and then here comes Aladdin, The Return of Jafar, eventually Aladdin and the King of Thieves, and then The Little Mermaid 2, spun off The Little Mermaid's previous success with Jodie Benson doing a fabulous job as the voice of this character. Maybe I'm just saying what I believe about Descendants is obvious now I feel, because I was a huge fan of all these Disney classics like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. I fell in love with Belle and Peggy O'Hare's voice that she brought to the character Belle, and then eventually comes Emma Watson in the live action, and then Haley Bailey for the live action Little Mermaid, which was a fabulous live action movie that received so much criticism in the box office, I know, and now people are, throwing all the criticism the way of Snow White, and that's the reason why reportedly the Tangled live action has not picked up production because of Snow White's flop in the box office. But I think that because I have everybody who has a greater appreciation, I think Descendants' success comes from everybody who has a greater appreciation for all these Disney princesses, who I absolutely adore. I'm a huge fan of Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. I'm a huge fan of Rapunzel from Tangled. And I will forever and always be supportive of those characters. So because they will forever and always hold a special place in my heart, that's why I'll always and forever be supportive of people like Sabrina Carpenter and Ruby Rose Turner who want to be the Rapunzel in the live-action Tangled, because I will forever and always be in love, of course, with Ruby Rose Turner, whom, for the life of me, I don't know how they were able to produce Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland without. I know they had Liamani Segura as Red Sister Pink, who I am incredibly excited to meet. Allow me to say that. But I think that without Ruby being a part of this franchise, I'm really missing a part of my life that has been a part of my life for what feels like forever. And that dates all the way back to when I used to watch Ruby Rose Turner on shows like Orange is the New Black and Coop and Cammy Ask the World, which was a show that I really did enjoy watching because of how unpredictable Ruby was, how fun she was to be around, how happy she was all the time on the set of Coop and Cammy Ask the World. But I guess, we're just going to have to learn to change with the times, because the times with Disney is always forever and always evolving. But for me, there was just something about Ruby's voice being on that song, Life is Sweeter When You Were, that I can never seem to get enough of, how beautiful her color scheme was, Bridget's color being pink, and now from out of nowhere here comes this character simply named Pink as Red's sister as one of the consequences of time travel, replacing the color scheme of Bridget and seemingly everything Bridget represented. But I don't want to close the door just yet on Bridget, ever returning for the Descendants franchise, because I refuse to believe that we have seen or heard the last from Bridget because of just how significant she was to the rise of Red. I mean, everybody fell in love with that character. She became everybody's favorite character from Descendants, the Rise of Red. I mean, you'd be lying to me if you told me that the first character you didn't fall in love with or have eyes for was Bridget, because the thing about Bridget was Bridget inspired everybody to be a kinder person and just exemplified how far kindness can really go in this lifetime, especially when bullying has a profound effect on somebody, because forever and always to this day bullying has had a profound effect on everybody, myself included. I went through most of my high school experience being bullied. I was tripped up in hallways, I was called names, I was pushed in lockers, locked inside of lockers. Virtually everything that you could have done to a person, making them wish to be Superman, it was me. And come to think of it, if I could have been Superman years ago, I would have been. But then I think about that ridiculous portrayal of the Supergirl in the newest Superman movie that Meg Donnelly auditioned for and was declined the role of. And I think about how Meg Donnelly was so brokenhearted over that, and I don't know if I'd want to be Superman anymore. But the thing was, I think that even though Ruby Rose Turner is not a part of the franchise anymore, I think her contributions to the franchise will never ever be forgotten, because now I think the door is more widely open than ever before for Ruby to come back, reprise her role, and offer us more of an explanation as to just who the Bridget character is. Sure, she's an explanation behind why the Queen of Hearts was as evil as what she was, but just who is the Bridget character, and is there so much more of a story yet to be told for Bridget? As to, is there so much more of a story to be told between these Alice in Wonderland characters? I'm still waiting on Alice's daughter, or even Alice herself, to see her introduction into this franchise, because you can't, in my opinion, you can't have a franchise about Alice in Wonderland characters without Alice in Wonderland, or just having a franchise inspired by a character from Alice in Wonderland, be it Princess Red. I really do appreciate how they're starting to refer to her as Princess Red more in the script, because I think in The Rise of Red she may have just been referred to as Princess Red probably just once, because it focused on her just trying to find her place in Auradon, which she eventually did. But even though she found her place in Auradon by going back in time and altering the consequences of time travel, now having to face the consequences of time travel in the up-and-coming Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, what kind of consequences are they going to be, and if in fact will she maintain that title of being Princess Red. I really love how a villain now will threaten Wonderland with the Kingdom Cup games approaching. I've often wanted to compete in the Kingdom Cup games. I don't know how well I'd fare with that, given how competitive Red seems to be and how in shape she is, always in the gym lifting weights and stuff. So I guess the weightlifting is going to pay off now with him having to compete in the Kingdom Cup games. This opens up the door for a lot of action scenes that we never saw in the Rise of Red movie from 2024. So there's going to be a whole lot more action, especially if there's emphasis now on the Kingdom Cup games. I've either wanted to compete in the Kingdom Cup games or be the announcer for the Kingdom Cup games. I think this by far is the most intriguing plot that I think I've ever heard tell of for a Descendants movie, and the movie hasn't even premiered yet. I would venture to say that millions of people are going to be tuning in for this, because I remember 2 years ago when Descendants: The Rise of Red premiered and how excited everybody was. Everybody was posting countdown videos for the movie on their YouTube channels. Everybody was discussing it on open forum conversation, and then by the time the movie premiered, it was to be expected we'd be in the face of criticism and we'd be staring it right in the face, and sure we were. People immediately went to YouTube and uploaded videos with criticism about The Rise of Red, trying to offer explanations as to why the movie was the way it was, how they felt about the movie. But for me, I instantly fell in love with the cast because of just how different they were. Descendants was coming off a 5-year hiatus, and Descendants exploded in popularity. And I think we have way more fans of Descendants and Zombies than ever before. That's what's so exciting about this. We have way more fans of Descendants and Zombies than ever before, and I think that the success of Zombies is definitely credited to the success of Descendants, because Zombies fit perfectly into this trend. And I really give the Zombies cast a profound amount of credit for trying to make their franchise different from Descendants, with how Addison was trying to figure out her place in the world from one moment being a zombie to being an alien by Zombies 3. It was really incredible how Addison, from one movie to the next, from zombie to werewolf to alien, was trying to figure out a place in the world, trying to separate that franchise from what Descendants was trying to represent. Because I think that while Descendants' plot was pretty obvious from one installment to the other, I think that Zombies really kept it going because we didn't know what was going to happen from one moment to the next. By Zombies 2, Addison was trying to figure out her history of being a werewolf, and by Zombies 3, her history of being an alien. It was going all over the place, and it was really cool how, while Descendants' plot was so obvious, Zombies was forever and always a cliffhanger, which always kept us guessing, which was really appreciative. I've been watching a lot of flashback moments from Zombies to kind of refresh my memory on what happened, and of course there was a lot of confliction between Zed and Addison the more that I think about it, with Addison trying to figure out her place in the world, which made that movie an absolute cliffhanger because we didn't know what was going to happen from one moment to the next. I go back to when Zed and Addison broke up in the second Zombies movie, and we thought it could have been over for Zed and Addison, but they eventually found their way back to each other, and that was what I found to be so appreciative of the Zombie script. No matter how much confliction they were staring in the face of, they always found their way back to each other. And so too did Mel and Ben, dating all the way back to the original Descendants movies. But this is what I'm really interested in about Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, is if in fact Red will find a love interest. Now, if you follow along in the book series, and if the movies serve as any indication, eventually what will happen for Red is she will find a love interest in a guy named Ace. Now, whether or not the character's name in the movie will be Ace, if they follow along with the books, that remains to be seen. But eventually she does find love. But I think what the greater appreciation is coming from fans now is that Red is just focusing on finding her place in Auradon and finding acceptance. And while she may have thought she found it at the end of Descendants: The Rise of Red, were the consequences of time travel all they really bargained for and was happily ever after what they thought it was going to amount to? And who's going to be this villain? Initially going into Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, I thought it may have been Pink, Red's sister, because of the consequences of time travel being felt throughout the movie. But they're suggesting a villain is going to threaten Wonderland's existence during the Kingdom Cup games, and what kind of role will he play, or she play, in the upcoming Kingdom Cup games, which is something I'm going to be paying close attention to, and what kind of characters will see their introduction into the franchise. It's been suggested that more emphasis will be placed on characters like Aladdin and Jasmine in the upcoming Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, which is a title, by the way, I love so much. And I would love to see, different worlds explored in the Descendants franchise. And this is why I say that we should never believe the critics about them saying they're running out of ideas for Descendants. Because when you have, characters like Aladdin and Jasmine presenting themselves in the franchise, or more characters from Alice in Wonderland, such as Alice herself, it really opens up the door for more distant worlds to be explored outside of Wonderland. And I think that with the Kingdom Cup games presenting itself for the first time in Auradon, that opens up the door for more characters to travel to Auradon from distant worlds. That's what's really cool. So it could open up the door for more of a story for Aladdin and Jasmine, more of a story for Hercules and Meg, probably even Jack Skellington and Sally. Who knows what's going to happen in Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland? The cool thing is, I'm just like each and every one of you, because I don't know what's going to happen in Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, because I'm a fan. I'm a fan just like each and every one of you. I know what it's like to watch the premiere of Descendants dating all the way back to July 31st, 2015. I was so excited for both the premiere of Descendants and Bunked that same night, because I never thought Bunked would go on to achieve so much worldwide popularity. So too didn't I think Descendants would go on to achieve so much worldwide popularity. But that's what's so cool about some of the newer Disney franchises and movies, is that they're going on to achieve worldwide popularity. I actually just saw one of my friends on Facebook before I recorded this video comparing herself to Kim Possible, because that was her character of choice because of an app, of course, she took a quiz on, and then it popped up that she reminded herself of being Kim Possible. So I think that there's a little bit of Disney in everybody's heart, and no matter how much you choose to admit to it, there was a point in time in your life when you were a fan of Alice in Wonderland. I actually had the original Sleeping Beauty DVD in my DVD collection, and the Alice in Wonderland DVD as well. So as much as we sometimes refuse to choose to admit to it, I think that if we, admit it to our inner child and being so much a fan of Alice in Wonderland, being an inspiration why we're, such huge fans of Descendants, Wicked Wonderland, and Descendants movies of the past, I think the better off we'd be. We'd reach a mutual understanding and a greater appreciation for these characters. But the one thing that Descendants, I find, has given a lot of people is a greater appreciation for these characters sometimes, who have been often overshadowed by, everything else happening with Disney, because the focus will forever remain on Frozen, it will forever remain on Wreck-It Ralph, it will forever remain on Encanto and Princess and the Frog, and all these movies at Disney are coming, like ELO and all this stuff. So I think that with Descendants, keeping these characters alive, there's a greater appreciation for it, if anything, and that's something that's really outstanding to me, and how some people are really the best of friends now because of Descendants of Zombies, such as Kylie Cantrell, Malia Baker, Ruby Rose Turner, who I can never give enough profound respect for their friendship being put on display the way that it has. Because I think that in years past, we saw, a cast such as Hannah Montana being brought forth for a set of Disney Channel, and there was never enough chemistry. As much as they tried to emphasize the relationship between Miley Stewart and Lily Truscott, played by Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment, there was never a friendship until halfway through production of the Hannah Montana movie. And even then, you felt as if the friendship just was never there. But from the very first moment that these stars stepped onto the set of Descendants, you could feel the vibe of a friendship, and you could feel the love being spread everywhere around the set. And they were so appreciative of everybody and being in everybody's presence. And now even off the set of Descendants, we're seeing it, and just how much of an appreciation there's been between Kylie Cantrell and Ruby Rose Turner ever since the age of 9, which is why I really miss Ruby being a part of this franchise. You can't honestly tell me that you couldn't have found something for Ruby to do, even if that meant to repackage her. I know that she's always had a passion for wanting to be Rapunzel, but there's always been way too much conversation about Sabrina Carpenter being Rapunzel for the live-action Tangled. Even though I would probably go for Sabrina Carpenter being Rapunzel in the live-action Tangled, I would choose Ruby Rose Turner over Sabrina Carpenter any given day or any given moment, because of just how, I know it probably has a lot to do with how big of a fan and how big of a crush I've had on Ruby for forever, but there's just something about Ruby's personality that fit perfectly with Rapunzel, even how curious she was. Because Ruby was forever and always curious, and she was always there to promote something for the PR for Descendants. She was never so happy to be in the presence of so many people when they were doing PR for The Rise of Red. So why take her out of the franchise? Just let her go. Let her be who she wants to be. If she wants to be a Rapunzel in the live-action Tangled, let her be the Rapunzel in the live-action Tangled. If she wants to be a Rapunzel in Descendants outside of Bridget, because there's no need for Bridget to be there, because the consequences of time travel are being felt now, and time travel has been taken out of it. I really hope we do see Ruby again in the franchise because she really did bring it to life in a way that I don't think anybody else has ever been able to bring it to life before, because there's been so much emphasis on how important that song, Life is Sweeter When You Are, was to every Descendants fan, because I think that we saw ourselves through that song. It was a bubblegum type song that instantly got stuck in our heads. And I'd be lying to you if I said that that song didn't get stuck in my head, because it has. If there's one song from the Descendants Rise of Red soundtrack I've listened to 1,000 times, if not a million, it's been Life is Sweeter When You Are, because it makes me think of my own life and everything I've been through, and it's allowed me to put my life back together, really, just as every song on the Descendants soundtrack has, because I think we've saw ourselves at one point or another through every song on the Descendants soundtrack, regardless if it's Red, Get Your Hands Dirty, Life is Sweeter When You Are, Shuffle of Love, what have you. Beautiful soundtrack, one of the best. I just want to put it out there that I think it was one of the best soundtracks, despite all the criticism it may have received in comparison to songs like If Only, Chillin' Like a Villain, Rotten to the Core. It was one of the best soundtracks ever for a Descendants franchise, and I think the soundtrack for Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland, is going to be even better and probably one of the best of all time. It's going to make history, and I really do believe that Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland is going to be history that we are all going to be a part of, and some of the most beautiful friendships of all time have yet to be derived from the success of Descendants 5, because up to this point, some of the most beautiful friendships of all time have happened both on the set and off the set of Descendants, and between people who have a mutual understanding and respect for the franchise, because this is what this franchise has revolved around consistently, is respect and understanding and acceptance. It's beautiful, the messages of these franchises, because franchises like Hannah Montana and High School Musical, even with how revered they were, never represented these messages of happiness, acceptance, true love as much as what Descendants has. And I am really excited about the future because of what Descendants has forever and always promoted inside of our hearts. It will forever and always hold a special place in my heart. I know it will forever and always hold a special place in your heart. And it's really intriguing to me how many people Descendants continue to be inspired by, no matter if you remember yourself for being a fan of the original trilogy, the new spin-off of it, which is very different, I know. But I think more people fell in love with the newer cast of Descendants of Zombies like Kylie and Ruby ever before they did Dove Cameron and Sophia, because it was almost as if you really had to feel out characters years ago. Now, because you remember being a fan of the original cast, which the success of Descendants of Rise of Red can be credited to their profound amount of success, obviously, I think that you're falling in love more with Descendants than ever before, and you say, okay, cool. It's about Red now, it's about Chloe, their friendship, which is beautiful. I have to put that out there too. I have so much respect for Chloe and Red's friendship and how people have felt about it and how people are some of the best friends ever because of Descendants now, the Rise of Red and what they represented. Now 2 years later with the Kingdom Cup games finding its way into the storyline and a new villain presenting a threat to Wonderland that's never been presented before, and even more significance on Alice in Wonderland characters, I'm really excited, and I've never felt so intrigued. So I think that by the time Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland touches down, by the time it premieres on Disney Channel and Disney Plus, we're going to hear a lot of great reviews for sure. We're going to be faced with a lot of criticism, but I, for one, am here for you guys, and I'm here to take bullets against all the critics, because for sure I'm up against 15 million critics when it comes to Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland. I'm excited about the premiere. It's really hard to believe that in less than 1 year from tonight, we will be counting down the seconds, literally, to the premiere of Descendants 5 Wicked Wonderland, which is something I'm incredibly intrigued by, because I think there is still so much more of a story yet to be told, not only just for Alice in Wonderland characters, but for characters that sometimes people have forgotten about, and that really opens up the door now. With the Kingdom Cup games, there are characters going to be coming into this from distant lands, while Descendants 4 The Rise of Red suggested Mal, Evie, Carlos, and Jay went off to distant lands to spread the message of Oridon. I think now the door is more widely open than ever before for characters to come into Oridon to understand this franchise better than it's ever been understood before, which makes it really an exciting time to be a fan of Descendants and Zombies. And I, for one, have forever and always been intrigued by this plot and where we can go from here, because the possibilities and the dreams of everybody are going to be kept alive more than they ever have before. And of course, Zombies 5 expected to be released sometime between now and 2028. I know that feels like forever away, But I give you my word, as long as this YouTube channel exists and you guys keep subscribing and liking these videos, I will forever and always be here leading up to the premieres of Descendants 5 and Zombies 5 with videos on Descendants and Zombies and a whole lot to say where the conversation goes, because I think there's a lot of appreciation coming from fans about Descendants and Zombies, and it shows every single time I upload a video on this YouTube channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and ring my bell to stay up to date with notifications about everything happening on this YouTube channel. I think you're going to want to do that because I have a whole lot to say where Descendants and Zombies goes, because I, for one, am incredibly intrigued about the future of Descendants. I love the title, Descendants 5, Wicked Wonderland. I love the color scheme of the characters and how this one has the potentiality to explode and be the greatest Descendants movie of the entire franchise and the history. Because this is history, ladies and gentlemen, and we are all going to be a part of it, and I'm incredibly excited to be along for the ride. This incredible journey that you girls have had me on, discovering the mystery and the greater appreciation that exists for Descendants and Zombies in light of all the criticism it has received. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this video to my YouTube channel. I will be back later on tonight just before sunset with a third, possibly a fourth video on Descendants and Zombies, because I never seem to get enough in about Descendants and Zombies in the way of conversation. I am your voice of Descendants and Zombies. So proud to be just that for you guys. Jonathan Clarke. Don't forget to ring my bell to stay up to date with notifications on everything happening on this YouTube channel, and be kind to one another, because kindness really does go a long way in this world. We will talk again in just a few hours from now.